Wow, man. You know, I know our show is completely relevant now. We started talking about this AJ Brown potentially moving him. Like I was just talking to Tone. Tone and I said, I think we kind of brought it up around the playoff game when he scrubbed his social media. Hey, by the way, and I think it's important so that this lands here that nobody's talking about moving AJ Brown because he sucks. He's a bad guy. He's a poor leader. Nobody's talking about that. I was listening to some of the radio shows today, and they were talking and broaching this subject here. Like, oh, the guy says a couple things. He's a bad. Nobody's saying that here. He's got 3,000 yards in 2 years. This is about improving your roster like Green Bay did. Or like Kansas City did. You're not good. And you've got a great wideout. So I heard people saying trading A.J. Brown's crazy. And I actually heard somebody say, let's get another wide receiver for Jalen. Well, what the fuck are you paying him $50 million for then? How much more does a kid need? The more you add to the offense, the more you show me you don't believe in your quarterback. I mean, you're going to have eventually $90 million invested in three guys, the way you guys talk. Now follow me again here. Did Green Bay get better trading Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers? Did they or did they not get better? Hey, Calvin, those guys on IP got the topic from me because I'm the first guy to broach trading A.J. Brown. And it was brought up on the show with Kay Adams, and I love Kay. Her and I are friends. And he addressed it. By the way, he doesn't have to worry. Guy has 200 some odd catches, and he's got 3,000 yards in 2 years. I wouldn't be worried about shit either. He's a great football player. He's a great football player. And I said this, okay? Listen, this is about the betterment of the roster. You're not a good football team right now. You're top heavy when it comes to your salary cap and when it comes to your roster. Got a good offense, good talented people there, and you got a horseshit defense. You're not going to win dick with that. Nothing. Okay? I never said keep AJ. To me, dude, Flex, complete lie. I'm the one that fucking brought it up. I'm saying, hey, nobody is safe except the quarterback. Everyone else, I could give a shit. You could trade anybody. I've never said that about a player. The only guy that you have to keep is your quarterback. All good, dude. Hey, whatever. Sit back and take a lap. I'm going to debate this. And by the way, let's put this out there. Where are we going with the cap and what it's being projected at? The salary cap is going to be projected, according to the NFL Players Association, this coming year at $240 million. Last year, it was $224.8. And it's being projected at $240. And starting on March 17th, you want to start paying three guys $120 million. Now, Jalen's cap hits are team-friendly, but I'm talking about salary here. And you really think that owner is going to sit around and pay $500 or $400 million in player salaries when they don't believe in half the positions on defense? You're going to have three guys making $120 million eventually if all you guys want to keep Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts together in the huddle. That's $120. That's $120 million. And Patrick Mahomes has the cheapest running back room and the cheapest quarterback room when it comes to wide receivers in the league. That's why you pay that guy $50 million. And that's why I ain't paying Dak $50 million. You think I'm paying Dak $55 million to give me that result and pay him in Mahomes' league? No way. No way. I'd rather start over. He's not worth it. Eventually, you got to get to a point, and I don't want to hear that stupid shit about market value. You got to have some common sense. Are you really going to pay $59 million for Dak Prescott this coming year when he's delivered a 2-win postseason record and he's 2-5 in the postseason? Really? Not me. Not when I see a guy in San Francisco making $870,000 a year. That ain't working for me. I'd rather build my roster up, have a really good quarterback, and go forward. I'd rather put Kirk Cousins on my team for $30 million and build my team up around Kirk than sit there and spend money after money on a guy like Kyler Murray or a guy like what we're talking with Dak here. Absolutely not happening. When do you get to a point when you go, well, that ain't working? You know, Jalen Hurts is going to get to that point. How much more talent do you want around the kid before the kid has to say, hey, he's not delivering? Jesus Christ, you got the best offensive group in the league. And you haven't won a Super Bowl yet. What else do you want? Honest to God, you got the best wide receiving core, a top 5 tight end, a top 3 running game with your offensive line. You got a 1,000-yard running back. What else do you want to give them? I mean, you got to get to a point when you're an organization that you do this. I'm not spending $50 million on that. Don't you get it? Brock Purdy is changing the game. Would you rather build the roster up or pay for the quarterback? The quarterback's the needle in the haystack. Because when I look at Brock Purdy, I see Jimmy Garoppolo. I see Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't see anybody else. And Jimmy Garoppolo has taken a team to a Super Bowl, has been to a Pro Bowl, and it never costed me $50 million. Don't you get to, fight. You guys are right. There's only one Patrick Mahomes. What makes you think you have a Patrick Mahomes when you're constantly talking to me about, I'm going to keep AJ? For what? AJ Brown doesn't win you a Super Bowl. Your quarterback does. How freaking dumb when you listen to people going, I'm not trading AJ Brown. For what? Well, for what? Okay. What's he bringing you? A lot of stats? A lot of yards? He's bringing you nowhere. You know why? You don't have a football team because you don't have a complete team. They robbed the defensive side of the ball to pay the quarterback and the wideout and the tight end and the O-line. And you know how that's a fact? Look at the money you spend. Look at the lack of money you spend. And on top of that, you got no return on investment in your corners. It's been a complete financial disaster for the Eagles this year. Completely disastrous financially. Corners suck, no return. You robbed your defense at linebacker, and in the second, dude, your secondary blows. You know, there were actually people in here and on my network telling me that we had a top flight defense and our defense was as good as the Niners. Do you remember that conversation with all your dumbass posting of 10-1? I said, you're not even in the room with them. You're not even in the room with them. Not even in the room. Oh, no, we're 10-1. I'm like, dude, you're not in the conversation with them. You said Jalen isn't in the same room as Mahomes. He's not in the same room. Who said he is? You're paying him like he is, but he ain't. How many quarterbacks are in Mahomes' league? Well, I always look at the guys with less talent on their team. Do you know that the Buffalo Bills are probably going to cut after June 1 Stephon Diggs to save $22 million? And they're going to draft a wideout because they know their quarterback can carry their team to another AFC East title. What does Jerry like to say? Hanging around the rim? Well, Allen will keep you around the rim. And remember, his path to the Super Bowl is unlike your path. You've got to go through Dak and who else? Purdy. When you're in the AFC, you got to go through Mahomes. It's like going through Brady. You got to go through Joe Burrow. You got to go through Lamar Jackson. These are all MVPs. These are not just dudes. The path in the AFC, if you're a quarterback, is much harder because you're playing top flight guys. In the NFC, you're playing Jared Goff, Dak Prescott, and Jalen Hurts, all overachievers. Good players, but not those guys. Burrow, we'll find out more about, and I agree with toning everybody's. Okay, you know, T. Higgins and Jamar Chase and Joe Mixon and a pretty good old line. Duke Tobin's going to have a lot to do this coming off season here. I already saw what he made a comment on T. Higgins. Hey, we'd like to have T. Higgins back, but the pie's only so big. He's right. Okay? Yeah, well, hey, PL, Lamar Jackson's going to win his second MVP award by the age of 26, and he plays in the AFC. Okay? Don't confuse yourself. Hey, Lamar Jackson passing the ball 47, 46 times, that's not a remedy. And I think they panicked when it came to Todd Monken and John Harbaugh in that game, and they were undisciplined. Lamar Jackson throwing the ball 47 times, that's not cutting it. Okay? Here's the problem that I have with the Eagles here as you move into your, you know, hang on. I'm gonna go to that 1 second. So you guys don't want to trade A.J. Brown. Tell me what you think Jalen Hurts' ceiling is. This ought to be interesting and entertaining. What's Jalen Hurts' ceiling? Have we seen the best of Jalen Hurts? I don't know. I've seen 3 different Jalen Hurts. 21, 22, 23. All 3 different. Up, down. 2021 is the first-year starter. You kind of balance that out. First-year starter. Now, again, I saw Jordan Love as a first-year starter. That guy was 10 times better as a first-year starter with not lesser talent. They had rookies on that team, too, at wideout. I saw Jordan Love in his first year starting. Like when Jalen, his first year starting, Jordan Love was 10 times the player. Jordan Love was 10 times the player. And I thought it was a rocky start, like Jalen had a rocky start, 2-5. Jordan Love, when I look at Jordan Love, I'm like, holy shit, I can't believe that guy threw for that many yards and that many touchdowns. We guys have never heard of at wideout. Okay? So, what's Jalen Hurts' ceiling? All right, Des, what's his ceiling? Mahomes? You think Jalen Hurts could become Patrick Mahomes and carry a team by himself? That would entitle this. You have Goddard and Quez Watkins as your offensive weapons. And DeAndre Swift. I'll give you this. To duplicate what they have going on in Kansas City, you get Quez Watkins, Dallas Goedert, and DeAndre Swift. You think he can carry a football team to a Super Bowl with those 3 guys? Seals, how many quarterbacks in the league can? I don't think very many can. So isn't it better to build the roster? Because unless you think that that guy has the ceiling of Patrick Mahomes, he'll never get there. And you'll be wasting your $50 million like they are in Arizona, like they are potentially in Cincinnati, like they are potentially in Los Angeles with Herbert, what they're eventually going to be wasting it down in Jacksonville. And for sure, they've wasted it in Dallas. When does it get to a point where you go, why am I throwing good money after bad money here? Why am I doing that? Doesn't it make more sense to build the roster instead of building up the quarterback salary? Unless you believe that he can carry the team, you should have no fear of dumping A.J. Brown. They did it in Kansas City. They didn't, believe it or not, it's kind of amazing that Matt LaFleur had that kind of faith in Jordan Love. It's actually incredible that he saw the insight and had the insight to see that because they moved off him. DeAndre Adams was the first $20 million a year guy at wideout. Seals, hear me out. I thought about it, the idea of trading Goddard instead of Brown. I've identified his replacement, Bowers from Georgia, in the draft, thinking, here's the problem, Marshall. Okay, Goddard's a fine ball player, and I really love the guy. He's one of my favorite Eagles. Here's the problem. He misses 25% of his season every year. With whatever. You think you're going to get top-flight quality first-round money or picks for Dallas Goedert? I think the most you could get for Dallas Goedert would be a 3. Is that enough to build my defense back up to being respectable? Your defense is not respectable. It's actually a laughingstock. You were the worst defense at the end of the season in the entire league. The worst. You were 1-7. You couldn't stop anyone. And at the end of the day, when you watch that Buck game, no one wanted to tackle anyone. Okay? Sills, what about the defense improve the defense? Not sure what that means. Okay? Can I get a second back for Hurts? Look, I got a lot of respect for Jeff Kerr, and I like him, and I like the work he does on Birds 365. I think the guy's high if he thinks that the number one priority on the Eagles is a running back. Shit, I'll get Freddie Pacheco in the 5th round or the 6th round. I'll get a functional guy. Do you know what's happening in the college game now? When you were in high school, you wanted to play running back because the running backs got paid. Okay? Now those running backs have become wide receivers. Wide receivers get paid. You're going to have so many good kids that are coming out of the college game this year because they've devalued the position that are traditionally going to be 1st and 2nd round guys you can get in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th round. There's some quality kids that play the running back position in college football. But you know what? People look at the position and go, nah, man, I'd rather draft 2 wide receivers than a running back. You know why? Because play designers and play callers, what's the number one reason running backs have been de-emphasized in the league today? You know why? Today's play callers don't design plays around running game or around a running back. Look at the guy you just hired, Kellen Moore. You think he designs his offense around a running game? Offensive coordinators back in the day designed their offenses around a running game first, spread you out, and that's how they started. Now it's about spreading you out, getting the ball to the wide receivers, and throwing to the numbers. That's why all these young coordinators and young coaches are being hired. They're cheaper, and they're doing things more conventional, taking the advantage of the rules that they have in the game today. So I ask you again, what's Jalen Hurts' upside? Like, how about this? If Jalen Hurts doesn't win a Super Bowl in the next 3 years, are you really going to pay him $65 million? Why? Why would you do that? Why would you give Jalen Hurts another contract? I most definitely am not paying Dak Prescott $60 million. I would never do that. When I got to pay Micah Parsons, CeeDee Lamb, I've got to pay my left guard and my left tackle. That's the problem with the Cowboys. They have to jettison Amari Cooper. They have to get off Zeke Elliott. They have to get off all these players because they don't have a balanced cap. And that's where you are. You're in the same place the Cowboys are. Howie just does a better job at negotiating the contracts and does a better job on the cap hits. But he still does one thing that the Cowboys don't do, at least. He robs Peter to pay Paul. All the money's on the offensive side. That's why you have a bunch of trash cans over on defense. You have an unbalanced team. You have no Super Bowl window. Who in their right mind thinks that the Eagles are a Super Bowl team right now with that shitbox defense? How in the world would you think that, common sense-wise? Honest to God, how would you think that when you watch your team get run over? Not trading Hurts. I got Hurts on a great cap deal. Hey, by the way, the $50 million, I don't give a shit about. I care that Howie did a great job on the cap hits. However, you still got to tell the owner you're paying him $50 million annually starting March 18th. And you want to pay two wideouts $40 million combined? You got two tackles that are making $30 million combined? Inside of 5 players, you have $120 million. And the cap is only going to be $240. How are you building your team? How are you paying Landon Dickerson? How are you finding linebackers? How are you paying for your draft choices? How are you going to pay for the draft and their signing bonuses? Where are you getting this money from? Oh, you're going to rob the defense again, and you're going to have a mercenary defense every other year. That's where you are. So ask yourself this. Are you really going to give Jalen Hurts a second contract? Tell me what you think his ceiling is. Dude, it's got to get to a point. And every time, and I heard Tone say it, and he's right. Well, how we figuring a way out to keep two wideouts like they have in Seattle, and you go nowhere with them. It defeats the purpose. When you have corners and no linebackers and no depth at edge, how are you making sense of that? You see, people look at players and not the roster. That shows me many of you don't know what you're looking at with football and how you build a championship team. You have no idea. It's not about all pros on your team. Look at Kansas City. It's a great example of having a generational quarterback and really good players, not spectacular players. Chris Jones, Travis Kelce, those are spectacular. The rest of them are really good up-and-coming players. And they're not spending any money. Jesus Christ. Kudos to Andy and Brett Veach. That's how you build a championship football team. They took the model New England had, and they've now applied it in KC. Personally, I think that's how you do it. And you know who else did it? The 49ers did it. The 49ers, Kansas City, and when Belichick was in New England are complete polar opposites on how Howie Roseman builds a team. That comment a couple months ago that Jeff Kerr made, that they can't have sustainable success, front and center. All you have to do is look at the examples. Look at it. Do you know how many first-round draft choice wide receivers in the last 45 years? Game time. Thank you, my friend. Hey, Tone, am I right when I say this? That in the last 40 years, you know how many wide receivers the Green Bay Packers have taken in the first round? 1. Devontae Adams was a second rounder. They've taken 1 wideout in the last 40 years. You know why? They've had Favre and Rodgers. One. How many wideouts have you drafted in the first round and bombed on them? Chris asked a great question because I turned it down. I could have went and worked for the Browns or the Raiders. Ask Amy Trask. They tried hiring me for a personnel and being in the personnel department with Ken Herrick. I turned it down. So, Chris, go ahead. I was offered a job with the Raiders and the Browns to be in the personnel department. I turned it down. I was going to go to work for Butch in Cleveland, my D-line coach, and Al Davis tried hiring me as a personnel guy. I turned it down. You know why I didn't want to go? Hey, you know why, Tone, I didn't want to do that? I didn't want to go to Fond du Lac, Wisconsin and watch a guy run a 40 in sub-zero weather. No disrespect to them guys, man. Those guys do a lot. And they travel a lot. And I mean, they're never home. I mean, sitting around watching a guy run in 40s outdoors, 20 degrees below zero, is not something I wanted to do because you wanted to work in your basement. Okay, you got me. True. Yeah. Okay, I'll take that one. Absolutely. Tell me again, back on track here. Let's stay on track here. What do you think is Hurts' ceiling? Okay? What do you believe his ceiling is? How many people think Jalen Hurts is going to win a Super Bowl before he leaves the Eagles? I think Jalen Hurts' best years are behind him already. You know why? Because money's going to play a factor in what they put around him. Not because he won't get better or because I don't trust the organization, one, to put good quality people around him. And secondly, I think they're cheap. And I think they're going to get cheaper once he starts getting paid. You don't really believe that an organization is going to pay for $100 million for 3 guys. 2022, I told you this last year, may be the best you ever saw him play and may be the best year of his career. That could be his career year, dude. You don't want to look at it that way. The Eagles are. Great quarterbacks can elevate lesser talent around him or have great talent around a lesser quarterback prospect that can run our offense. Does that sound like Kansas City and San Francisco? Radman, there's a better chance of me finding a Brock Purdy than there is a Patrick Mahomes is my point. Everyone is looking for Patrick Mahomes. You're not going to find Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady. Get this. You know how hard it is to find them guys? Think about this for a second here. Okay? Think about this for a second. The National Football League talent evaluators couldn't find Brady. They couldn't find him. The greatest quarterback in NFL history couldn't find Brady. They couldn't find him. They didn't know what he looked like. You don't know what greatness looks like at that position. You assume you think you do. Nobody does, including me, anyone. You never know when you run into the 3rd round and you run into Montana. Or you run in the 3rd round and you run into Russell Wilson. Or you run into the 6th round and you run into Brady. Or you have a guy who was cut 5 times and an undrafted quarterback and Kurt Warner who goes to the Hall of Fame. You don't know what that thing looks like. But you think you have it in Hurts. Presumptuous. I'm not spending $50 million, $60 million and not building my team up and having to do what Howie does every 2 years. Rebuild it. I'd rather have the Brock Purdy model or the Brady model. I'd rather have a strong roster than have me constantly searching on fixing my cap, not spending money at certain situations. Do you know John Lynch has the autonomy and freedom for the next 2 years to spend money at any position he wants, to upgrade any position he feels like it because of Purdy? And I would guarantee you this, Brock Purdy, when his contract is up, 49ers will be a completely different football team. But maybe then Brock Purdy's going to have to do what Brady did. You know what that is? They're going to have to win Super Bowls with Amendola and Edelman, because your quarterback has to evolve into that, or he's not worth the $60 million either. Don't you see how this progression is with these quarterbacks? Let's go back into Patrick Mahomes' career. Who did he have early when he was going to Super Bowls and winning them too? He had Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Kareem Hunt. He had Shady McCoy. He had Orlando Brown. All of a sudden, what happened? Mahomes started morphing into this generational talent. Now he has nobodies at wideout, Kelce, and a 7th-round running back. And he's in his 2nd Super Bowl in 2 years, and he's in his 4th. That's where you pay $50 million. You don't pay $50 million like Dak Prescott. And I'm not saying Jalen Hurts yet, because Jalen's not there yet. Jalen hasn't even hit the first year of that thing, so we got to see how that plays out. But I'm making a point here. That could be Jalen's future here. Are you really going to spend $60 million on Dak Prescott if you're the Dallas Cowboys? Why? You've had 9 years of him. And just as Jerry says, to hang around the rim, that's not worth it when you're losing players in your roster every year. Quality players. Why in the world would you make Zach Martin, who's going to Canton, Ohio, hold out for an additional $6 million? It's because you know you got to pay Micah Parsons and CeeDee Lamb coming up. And Dak, if you're going to go there. Hey, dude, what do you think the ceiling is for Hurts? You think Jalen Hurts gets a 2nd contract in Philly like I asked you? Honestly. You think he's getting a 2nd contract at $60 million if he doesn't win a Super Bowl? Never. Never. If he doesn't win it, get this, Nick will be gone first and then he will. Because you can't keep doing this. Okay, I got $40 million in wideouts, $50 million tight end, $17 million tackles. I got a $20 million guard? Hey, by the way, how much you think you're going to have to pay Landon Dickerson? You know Landon Dickerson's going to make as much money as A.J. Brown? Hey, Tone, or whoever, what's the cap? What's the franchise tag number for guards? I think it's 20. Are you going to pay him $20 million too? So you got 20 there, and you got 20 on Devontae, right? 20 over on your A.J. Brown guy. 15 on your tight end. 17 on your left tackle and 18 on your right tackle. Dude, where are you playing this game? Monopoly? Where are you getting that money from? The model is in San Francisco. It's in San Francisco. Think about what that cap hit's going to be. Here, right here, projected caps. Look at this. So the corners are at 18, ends 19. Look at the linebackers. Top end is 20 if you want a top flight linebacker. 32 on the quarterback. Go down the list here so I can see the guards. Offensive line, there it is, 18-2. So you're going to pay Landon Dickerson $20 million. Hey, let me ask you this. Those are projected franchise tag numbers for 24, Tone's telling us. So let me ask you this. Everyone, check it out. Who are you going to pay 20 to? Devontae or Landon Dickerson? Who are you going to pay? Who are you going to pay $20 million to? Devontae? Be careful how you answer this. Are you paying $20 million to Devontae or Landon Dickerson? Who are you paying it to? Who are you going to pay that to? 20 over at AJ. 20 on Devontae. They don't work that way. Dude, eventually your quarterback's got to carry your team, doesn't he? You say Landon. I say Landon too. And if I want to keep Devontae, bye-bye, AJ. Because Landon protects my $50 million investment. Devontae doesn't. This is how you talk about building. Thanks, Tone. I appreciate that. Very cool. This is how you talk about common sense building a roster. Not just sit around talking shit about, well, hey, nobody trades a guy with 1,400 yards. Yeah, you do. You know, let me give you a moment in time, and we've had that conversation here. Coach Johnson says, I'm trading Herschel Walker away. And every one of you that say don't trade AJ, get this, Tone. Jimmy Johnson, he said it on the show, goes on his run. Herschel just come off a 1,500-yard year, had 800 yards receiving. He was the best player on the team. I was there. He was the best player on the team. He comes back from his run. He looks at Dave Wannstedt and says, I'm trading Walker. Everybody in the room was like, what? We can't do that, coach. He's our best player, man. We can't do that. He goes, I don't care what you say. Jimmy got a treasure chest of first rounders, second and third rounders. And he built a dynasty. But not in Philly, because we got to have our AJ. So dumb. This ain't about one man. It's bigger than one man, like Mike Tomlin says. This is about building a roster. Here, let me go into the second topic here. So do you want to go into a half build or a full rebuild? What is this offseason? A rebuild? A retool? A half rebuild? What are we calling this here? What is this called? Plugging holes? Well, it's more than that. See, you're not one or two. Last year, you were a coach away from winning the Super Bowl. This year, you're a coach and numerous players away from building a Super Bowl contender. Retool? You think replacing 9 guys on defense is a retool? I think that's a rebuild. Both coordinators out? That's a rebuild. Philosophy change on offense? Are you changing? Okay. Are you changing Jalen? Are you adding to Jalen? Are you less running game? What are you doing? And you're rebuilding an 11-win team. Sounds like a panic to me. Doesn't it? All brand new. And by the way, You're not just changing out coordinators. You're changing 8 different. You're getting a new D-line coach, a new linebacker coach, a new secondary coach, a new edge defensive end coach. You're getting like 5 or 6 new coaches. You're changing your entire coaching staff out, pretty much. I mean, you're changing out your entire coaching staff. Sills, have faith in the GM? I don't. When it comes to picking personnel, you can't name me anyone in the last 15 years that guy's drafted at linebacker or corner. That's good. They ignored defense in Philadelphia. You ignore it. Your attitude and how you approach it, you ignore. Hey, bend but don't break. Imagine telling somebody in Philly that. Hey, dude, live your life today. Bend but don't break. That's why it rubs you the wrong way. Because it's counter who you are. Hey, don't worry about it, dude. Bend but don't break. Hey, fuck you. So, I mean, are you building the team? Are you? Are you like retooling the team? Here's how I look at it. It's a complete rebuild. In mentality, philosophy. Can I tell you something here? The Eagles in their actions are showing you they believe they're more the 1-7 team than the 10-1 team. Fired both coordinators, change the entire coaching staff out, bringing in a guy who's going to bring in all of his coaches on both sides. It's a complete rebuild. Your Eagle team will look completely different than what it did this past season. I would say this, of your 22 starters, you will have half the team overhauled. New running back, new third wide receiver, 9 guys on D. You'll have 11 guys. Half your football team. Half your roster, your starting 22, will be replaced. You're telling me that that's not a rebuild? I don't know what you would consider a rebuild to be then. All 22? Who are you, Arizona? You're going to be rebuilding your football team as much as Arizona's rebuilding their team. Only difference is Arizona's got more quality picks than you do. Because they've sucked. Now they have to land on their picks, and they don't. If there's one organization that doesn't get draft choices right, that's it. Some places get it right, some don't, like Baltimore, Pittsburgh. I wouldn't trade AJ for draft picks. Howie sucks at talent evaluation. PJ, you got me there. I would trade him for great players on rookie contracts. PJ, let me ask you this. Would you trade AJ Brown for Patrick Surtain? Straight up. Would you trade AJ Brown for Patrick Surtain? You think that you think Denver'd be interested in that? Straight up. Remember, I believe they're going to move off of Judy. Okay? So, and they are going to draft a young quarterback because they're going to try to get out of that Russell Wilson deal. Wilson's going to be either in places like Pittsburgh, who doesn't do shit like that, Atlanta, and depending what Chicago's direction is going to be. I don't believe in Caleb Williams. I'd rather have Russell Wilson than Caleb Williams, but Russell Wilson's getting up there in age, so I don't know. Plus, the money's insane, and I don't know if I want, but Chicago's got the money. I believe Dante's more than capable of stepping up. I do too. I feel, dude, I totally feel safe on betting on Devontae Smith stepping up. He's waiting his time. He is. I actually think getting rid of A.J. Brown may be a better scenario where you got a quarterback that could maybe spread the ball out a little more and maybe be better himself. Because if he can't be better without A.J., I'm not paying him $50. Patrick Mahomes became a better quarterback without Tyreek Hill. And we're not talking about numbers. We're talking about winning championships. He's a better quarterback without the number one deep threat in NFL history. Hard to believe when you say it. Hard to believe. AJ or Mahomes got better. He got better without Tyreek Hill. Hey, let me put this out there to you. What if Mahomes wins this Super Bowl for the second year in a row with that group of wideouts, a tight end and a seventh-round running back? You go, there's nobody in the league like Patrick Mahomes. You answer your own question. Okay, what do I do? What if Purdy wins? Damn. They're paying that guy over there in that end $500 million. $500 million, and Purdy just won that game, making $870,000. Who do you want to be? Searching your whole life for Patrick Mahomes? Or doing the right thing and building your roster like the Niners do? Like New England did? Like Green Bay is? What makes more sense? What gives you the best chance of success? Throwing a dart in the dark and trying to find Mahomes and hoping Hurts is Mahomes? Or building a great roster and having a guy like Purdy directing your team, or Foles? Brock Purdy's Nick Foles. Brock Purdy's Nick Foles. That's who he is. He's 17-3 on that football team with all those great football players. I would make the argument that Brock Purdy's done more in 2 years of his starting than Jalen has. This is his second straight NFC title game. He didn't get to participate in last year's because he got hurt, but he's driven two teams to 2 NFC titles in 2 years starting. You could make that argument for him. People were going like this: I have to see a full year. Well, he threw for 4,200 yards and 30-some-odd touchdowns. Had an incredible quarterback rating. Completion percentage off the charts. What else do you need? You know, you got to get to a point where you stop doing this. The only reason that you disrespect Brock Purdy the way you do is because he was the last player taken. You put another jersey on that guy, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, anybody else, and you put that jersey on that quarterback in San Francisco, you'd be talking about him in the same breath as Trevor Lawrence or any of these other guys. But you can't overcome the distinction. Jalen still can't. Don't you understand that's what Jalen Hurts battles? Second rounder, lost his job in Bama. You never shake that. That's how people see Jalen. They don't see Jalen. Oh, Jalen had a runner-up, most valuable player. Hey, as soon as that guy starts having a couple shit games, hey, man, this guy ain't the guy. He's a poor leader. He's this and he's that. Then you go back to going to what people talked about when he was at Alabama. 2 straight AFC, NFC championship games. I don't know. It's pretty impressive to me. Jalen Hurts is not a fraud. I think the people around him are questionable. I heard Tone talking earlier on Sports Take. I don't have any concerns about Hurts. Oh, I have complete concerns about Hurts. You know what they are? Are people going to coach him good? Is he going to be able to overcome it? Is he going to be able to overcome poor decision-making like we saw this past year? Jalen Hurts had all those turnovers and all of that inconsistency because of how bad the coaching staff was inconsistent. He couldn't overcome shitty coaching. He could not overcome shitty coaching. So you tell me, you're not worried about him? I'm not worried about the man. I'm worried about the people around the man. Hurts showed you he couldn't overcome it. All of a sudden now he's going to overcome it? You're exactly right. When you don't have the first round tag on you and you don't get first round luxuries, the first rounders have the luxury of, that's right. What is that? Oh, you don't really know about a quarterback until his third year. Yeah, that works with first rounders. Shit, man. Jalen Hurts had 1 year starting at 21. The damn organization went out and got 2 ones because they were going to make a move in 22, 23 draft to go get themselves a quarterback in the draft. Then the kid had a superstar year. Oh, all right. And you land on look at what a quarterback that plays well for you gives you the luxury of. And here's Howie at his best and worst. He drafts Jalen Carter, which the team is known to do when it comes to O-line and D-line. Edge rusher, he sucks out loud with Nolan Smith. Typical Howie. That's who he is. Right there, the 2023 draft is a prime example of why you sit back and go, can that guy retool that team? Take it back, rebuild that team. You land on a D tackle. You're known for that. You land on a edge rusher. You fuck that up. You're known for that. Facts. So he's 50-50. I mean, are you comfortable with that? That's why we did that exercise with you yesterday. I don't want Howie drafting linebackers in the top 3 rounds. No way. You got to go get a veteran guy, and he's good at that. And draft a guy in the 4th round or a 5th round linebacker. Or do the UDFA. You're good at that. Okay? You know, it's funny. With coaches, I'll tell you something about Chip Kelly here. I heard the guys before me talking about Chip Kelly and Chip's raising his value by being considered for offensive coordinator. That's not why he's doing it. That's not why Chip Kelly's doing it. You know why Chip Kelly's name is being thrown around to be a potential offensive coordinator in the NFL? Because the league is caught up finally now with the type of offense that he wants, and he's not going to be an administrator. And on top of that, UCLA doesn't have nil money. When UCLA goes to the Big Ten, there'll be a laughingstock because the UCLA alumni only invest in what? Basketball. They don't invest in football. They never have. Have you seen the empty stands at UCLA football games? Nobody goes to them. UCLA football is a joke. And he wants out. He can't compete with the nil. They don't have a nil program at UCLA for the football team. That's why he wants out. I would not be shocked if Chip takes a coordinating job and leaves UCLA as the head coach. I would not be shocked. He can't compete. I guarantee you Purdue's got a better nil program than what Chip Kelly's UCLA Bruins do. Purdue football in West Lafayette or East Lafayette, whatever it is, that's a religion there. UCLA, it's a hoop school. Don't give a shit about football. They never have. That's why he wants out. There's no money. Chip can't go and put a $7 million nil program in front of a quarterback and bring him to Westwood. You know why? They don't have the money. But you got programs like LSU offering $7 million nil deals to potential quarterbacks. Iowa has massive nil money. That hospital they got behind that stadium, what do you think that hospital's there for? It fuels that stadium. Franklin Field at A&M, there's a hotel across the street. $25,000 a night during the football season on a Saturday. All that money goes to the football program. And they got 500 rooms in that place. All that money goes to A&M football. UCLA has none of that. That's why he's being considered. Driving his price up? No, he can't compete. UCLA leaving the Pac-12 is horrible. That's why he wants out. Unless you're at Oregon or USC, you ain't got a program on the West Coast. Well, Chip's just trying to get more money from UCLA. UCLA's not going to pay him more money. They don't have it. Okay. Rebuilding. This is a complete rebuild. It's a complete rebuild for the Eagles. It's a complete rebuild. Here's why. By the way, Philly 500, 5:30 Eastern. Here's why it's a complete rebuild. On one hand, you have a massive problem with personnel on defense. I'd say on a scale of 1 to 10, it's a 9. On the offensive side, you got too much money on that side of the ball. You don't make any hard decisions over there. You're going to have to go like this. Do I want Landon Dickerson? Do I want Devontae Smith? Do I want A.J. Brown? You can't pay them all. Or guess what? You'll keep robbing your defense. And then Howie's going to have to come in and do his bullshit picks that he fails on defensively. I'm trying to think, when's the last all-pro defensive football player that the Eagles have drafted that made first-team all-pro that they drafted? Has to be Fletcher. He's got to be the last one that's still on the team, right? Has to be Fletcher that made first-team all-pro. Man, you guys don't do a very good job at all on defense. Damn. And I'm supposed to believe that he's going to rebuild this team. Why in the world would you believe that? What gives you that confidence? And so some would go like this. Okay, Sills, then why would you trade AJ if you don't believe? Because I'll tell you what, if you give him at least 15 picks, I'm hoping he lands on 5 of them. I mean, I hope he lands on 5 of them. I want to give that guy as many opportunities to land on somebody. Seals, would you hire Scott Pioli for drafting? You're going to have a 5-win season this year for that to happen. Howie's going to be in charge of this draft. And by the way, for the record, I disagree with Rob Ellis. I think Howie totally believes that he has the linebackers going forward there. Zach Cunningham and Nakobe Dean are your starters. I already know what this thing's going to look like. Those two guys are not good and not reliable. Man, you're already setting up your room for failure. It's really crazy. Why would you repeat shit when you know you're going to get shit? Your linebackers will blow again. What are you going to, like I said, we did this exercise yesterday. What are you going to do at corner? What are you going to do at corner? Hope. Come on, Sills. We can't be hoping for Howie to make good picks anymore. That's why we're in this mess. 4 for 4. Exactly. So then this. Okay. And I heard a bunch of people going like this. It's crazy to think about trading AJ. You think it's crazy going into the season with the linebackers you have right now? What's more crazy? Going into the season where you know those backers will cost you games, or making sure AJ gets his yards. Jesus criminy. You're not looking at the big picture here. AJ Brown won't win you games. Your linebackers will cost you games. That's the storyline of 2023. AJ had a career year, and you were 1-6. I think he had a great year. Broke all kinds of Eagle records. And you were 1-6. What's the point? You know what the point is? And again, I hear people saying, I want to upgrade the 3 wide receiver. How much more are you going to give that quarterback before you start to do this? He can't carry it. You got to eventually find out if he can. The NFL used to be more balanced before they started caring about offense too much. Pittsburgh used to be phenomenal on defense. That's correct. You know what happened was gambling and prop bets. Nobody wants to see a 17-14 ball game anymore. They want to see 35-31 games. There's more opportunity for betting and more opportunities for you making wagers on the game. And they're setting it up. Remember something. Gambling is jet fuel for the NFL now. It's complete jet fuel. The NFL just absolutely dwarfs everything else on the planet. I mean, there's nothing close to it. 93 of the 100 TV shows last year were pro football. And the jet fuel for the NFL is gambling. Why in the world would I have rules for the defensive guys to hamper guys scoring touchdowns? That's why there's more talented wide receivers in the game today than there are running backs. Nobody wants to see 28 carries, including your owner. You don't really believe that Kellen Moore was hired. I can't wait to talk to Tone at 3:30 because you don't really believe you're going to run the ball more than you did last year and the year before. You're going to run it less. You're not running it more. You're not going to be balanced. That's not what they want in these new coordinators today. You think that owner, Jeffrey Lurie, wants a 25 carry back when you're paying a quarterback $50 million? What's the point? You see, hey, when you got a guy, I'll tell you what, there's 2 things that have made Patrick Mahomes an even better quarterback. Pacheco and a defense. Isn't that funny? Ain't no A.J. Brown. What made Mahomes better was Pacheco and a defense. Hey, let's pay A.J. Brown 20. Let's play Devontae 20. Okay, sure. Can't be stupider. Eagles have only had only had 3 defensive players make first team All-Pro since 2004, Brian Dawkins and Lito Shepherd. That's some record. That's some record. Dude, you're not very good at drafting defensive players. You're just not. I can't believe how poor you are. You're like Arizona Cardinal poor. Like, the Cardinals don't understand the draft. Do you? How can the Niners land on Warner in the 3rd and you land on Dean in the 3rd? And Warner went to BYU, not the mecca of linebackers, but because you have a guy who's a football GM and John Lynch, he knows what he's looking for. How he doesn't. He's a bookworm. He belongs at a library downtown. That's who he is. He's a librarian, a statistician, an analytics dude. John Lynch looks at 20 feet of tape and goes, yeah, that's the guy. He's a football dude. He's a Pro Football Hall of Famer. He's competed. Actually, you want to hear something about Lynch that makes it even crazier? John Lynch's first love was not football. It was baseball. He was drafted by the Marlins and was on the initial Marlins baseball team that started the season. He was a Marlin first. Then he became a football player. John Lynch has competed. Highs and lows. He's a perfect general manager. Not just about playing safety for the Bucks or the Broncos. You've got a bookkeeper. The 49ers have a football man making their picks. And there's no, hey, get this. Kyle Shanahan made that pick at quarterback. That was Kyle Shanahan. But you got to give it to Kyle Shanahan. He goes, take Purdy at the last pick. I'll take him. Okay. You saved the day. And you saved your ass. Because if that guy delivers a Super Bowl making the money he's making, get this. The Purdy pick is so instrumental in the building of that roster that they can overcome losing 3-1s. How incredible is that to say? If Brock Purdy delivers a Super Bowl next Sunday and wins it, they overcame losing 3-1s. Roster building, salary, and the ability to have latitude to fill positions everywhere else on the roster. What an absolute gift. And it cost you 3-1s to get all that. It's worth it. Think about that. It cost the 49ers 3-1s to have cap integrity, cap balance, roster balance, and not having to pay the quarterback. It cost them 3-1s. Would you give 3-1s for that? And they're in the Super Bowl again. Would you pay 3-1s for all those luxuries? I would. And they're going to be good for the next 3 years. And they're going to be good. Eagle goes like this. Now you're sucking off Lynch after calling them crybabies during the season. They did cry. They did cry all offseason. They did moan all offseason. But guess what they did? They came into your building and punched you in the fucking mouth and justified it and said you were phonies. and beat the shit out of you and drug you like you were a dead body. So they're crying. They justified it. I'm sorry, Eagle fan, that you have to take it in the face like that. They basically took the cannoli out and smacked you in the face in your own building. Yes, they cried. They moaned. Guess what they were? They were right. Because you couldn't do anything about it. And that's the real ass rub, isn't it? What's that got to do with John Lynch building a roster better than yours? What's that got to do with it? They embarrassed you in your own barn. I know we got lucky with Hurts, but they got extremely lucky with Purdy. If we stuck with they did. Hey, do you not think you got lucky with Mulata? Do you not think that the Cowboys got lucky with Larry Allen in the 12th? Do you not think that you got all that luck? Hey, what did I see that one guy say? San Francisco has $1 million in cap space. Well, they don't have any holes to fill. They don't have any holes to fill. Okay, no problem. I'm pretty happy with my roster. I'm good. You see, when you don't have a lot of cap space and you're in the Super Bowl, you're justified. When you are a team that's completely rebuilding like the Eagles are, you're not justified. The Niners have been vindicated and Eagle fans have to eat it. Them making it to the Super Bowl completely adds credence to the fact that we were frauds. That's tone. It's pretty strong. That's pretty strong. Okay? I think the 2022 team was a good football team for the Eagles. That's a great roster. You got shitty coaching. And that same shitty coaching, isn't it funny? Think about what happened last year. You had a really great roster, right? You had the same shitty coach. Well, you had a shitty head coach. You had a really great coordinator and a really decent one. You take the decent guys off, you're stuck with a shitty coach. And there you have it. And that's why you fell apart. Because you had the same shitty coach. Not hard to see, is it? I actually heard people in Philly and on my network saying that Nick Sirianni's the best coach in the NFC. Really? Really? Better than Sean McVay. Okay. Sure. Right. What a big time rebuild this thing is. Oh, and today's going to be a rough one, Sills. Why? Because we're not kissing any ass today. I know, Tone. I know. I'm going to take it. I'm going to do one more thing to Tone here. This is on the way out the door here, too. On the first stop set here. You ready? Hold on. Where is it? Damn, Andy Reid. 5 Super Bowls. 4 AFC titles. 1 NFC title. It's time to move on. It's time to move on. 14 years, Dan. What the hell else do you want? What do you want from me, guy? It's time to move on. Jesus. 5 Super Bowls? Good night. Oh, hey, tactically, right? All right. Hey, don't forget, folks, our good friends at Hooters, man, they got the calendars out. $100 in coupons are inside the calendars. You can go to the app at hooterstogo.com and also check out the calendars 2024 at northeasthooters.com. That's northeasthooters.com. When you roll in, do me a favor, tell them Big Sil sent you.
Football and Hooters, the